Good morning, options traders. Steve Ganz here, and I want to share something with you here this morning that most people will find useful, probably more so in an IRA account than other accounts. And this is a ratio spread. Some people will refer to this as a zebra, zero extrinsic back ratio spread. Sounds kind of crazy, a little complicated. It's really not too bad. So let me kind of walk you through why and how people might use this. Now, you'll notice that I'm actually using my platform here today, which is the ThinkorSwim platform as opposed to OptionStrat. You can model this in OptionStrat just fine, but the key takeaway here, you can't really model in OptionStrat because it's not connected to a brokerage account. And for me, the key takeaway is how can I get long or short stock, which you can't normally do in an IRA, and how can I do that for a lot less money than actually buying the stock? So let's just take a look at a couple scenarios here. If I were to come in, and I'm doing this on the Qs, if I were to come in and buy Qs, this of course would be my P&L diagram for stock as the market goes up or down. And of course, my risk here is unlimited if Qs went down to zero. But the key here is if I wanted to place this order, I do confirm and send, we can see that that's going to take $49,000 in buying power to enter this trade. Now, this would be a long stock trade. As most of you know, you can't short stock in an IRA. But there is a way around that using this particular trade and other options trade as well. So let me just walk you through that. So right now, if I were to buy the stock, I'd have to spend $49,000, and I essentially have $49,000 in risk. Now, I think we all know the Qs are not going to go to zero, but I have basically that full amount of risk. So if I wanted to do a similar trade using options, I can do this back ratio spread, and then I'll get into the construction of it here in just a moment. And if I wanted to put on this trade, we can see that this would be $5,200. So rather than $49,000, this is only going to use $5,200. And this is what the P&L diagram looks like here. So the nice thing about this is it has the same risk profile to the upside. Basically, as the market goes up, this benefits just like long stock would benefit, but my downside is capped by the amount that I pay to get into this trade. So my risk here is essentially a maximum of $5,000. And again, as we already saw, to get into this trade, I'm only spending $5,200, not $49,000. So this is kind of a stock replacement scenario. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if your stock pays a dividend, maybe this isn't the way to go. Maybe you want the dividend on that stock. So keep that in mind as you're looking at this. Now, one other little trick here that you can do is I do have a way of doing this with puts. If I do this with puts, I have that same benefit where this would be just like short stock if the market drops. But if the market moves up, my risk is capped by the amount that I pay for this trade. And if I take a look at this, this trade is $3,900 is the cost of this particular trade. So again, I can get into this trade for $3,900. It is essentially a short or a bearish position. And I can do this in an IRA. And of course, I can't short stock in an IRA. So this is one of the ways that I could be bearish in my IRA if I wanted to. So how do we go about constructing this trade? Well, the basic way of doing it, and I'll just construct a new one here, and I will do this in this case for the puts or the bearish side, is I come in and I buy two 70 delta puts. So I come in here, I look at, whatever's close to 70. I'm going to use the 470s here. So I come in and I buy two of those. And if I hold down my control, that gives me a second one. We can see that here. Just ignore all this. Just look for where the check mark is. And then I'm going to sell a 50 delta put. So I come here and I look to see, let's see, where's my 50 delta? My 50 delta is right in here. So 497. and I'm going to sell one of those. That then gives me this particular risk profile. Now, I said I was doing that in puts. I actually just did that in calls, but you can see that that's how you build that profile. It's the exact same for the puts. I would go in, and in the case of the puts, I'm going to buy 2 70 delta puts, and I'm going to sell one. It's kind of a close to the money put, usually that 50 delta. Sell one of those, and I will end up with this configuration again, much like I showed you here on the put side, and we'd have the same to the downside. So this is a way to essentially replicate a 100 share long or short stock position using much less buying power and being able to cap your risk that you can't do, of course, if you just are long stock. So hopefully you find this kind of a new creative way to maybe be able to trade 100 share lots of something in a smaller IRA account, because it can dramatically reduce the buying power, and of course gives you an opportunity to be bearish in an IRA where you can't short stock. So if you like this sort of content, please like, subscribe, please give me a thumbs up, and also any comments. Let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, etc. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.